Well, morning. We're close to the end of our adventure of Italian TET, and I thought I record this because the feeling will be gone when I'm back home. And this place happens to be the break-even point for us.
Last night we ended up in a parking lot, but not just any parking lot, the parking lot. In the middle of the famous Alpine Wall, a network of ex-military roads built in 1930s to strengthen the new frontier between Italy and France. However, with the peace treaty of 1947, the entire defense system was abandoned or destroyed, leaving only the roads, also known as Gardetta roads, to be used for civil purposes. Most of them now available only for hikers or mountain bikes, but there is still at least one open for motorized vehicles. Since there are not that many roads like these in the Alps, this one is understandably popular. But we did the smart thing of camping on it and being the first on site, so to say, which in turn means that we have the landscape all to ourselves during those precious morning hours when people down in valleys are still waking up in their cozy hotels and the marmots come out to play in the morning sun. This road does have very specific opening times, so do check ahead the transeurotrail GPX for the most up-to-date information. Otherwise, you risk quite a hefty fine, or even worse, closure of these roads for the rest of us. But when it does finally open, we are off to one of the most spectacular chickens of the whole trip. Chickens, you ask? Well, you would need to watch this series from the beginning to know what I mean.
Labrīt Rīga, labrīt Latvijā, labrīt Itālijā. Vajadzētu kaut kā saīsināt vārdu saukt, cik skaisti. Ar kaut kādu 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Jā, jau ir bišķiņ amazing. Tur ir vēl lielais kalns kaut kāds fonā. Kaut kāds Himalajs.
By open to motorized vehicles, I did mean motorcycles. What I did not is expect to see a Volvo on this track.
Respect. There's snow.
Yeah, I know.
But you have a Volvo.
Yeah, I know from another guy who I met before a few days ago, and I said, he said maybe it will get tough with your ground clearance.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, it's 5 days, maybe it melts enough.
You wait.
I will take a look and then I have a shovel.
There's a lot of shoveling.
Best decision.
Yes.
Best decision.
Okay, enjoy. Enjoy the shoveling. Tur jāpastrādā, bet respektē atsolīts Volvo brauc gardai. Viss iespējams.
I could of course edit this bit shorter, but I'll allow myself not to. I mean, this is the least I can do to give you the feeling of being present, there, with us. Just don't travel down that cliff.
This place happens to be the break-even point for us because it was the perfect location for camping, the perfect road, it was open, the weather was good, everything was just connected.
I'm starting to believe that there's some sort of conspiracy going on. We had to endure an X amount of rain and fog to be awarded with this. If it's not the case with you, go buy a lottery ticket. Now.
Wow! Ai, nu te nevar vienkārši tā pabraukt, jā? Te visu laiku jāstājās. Forti kaut kādi.
Yep, there are many ruins of former fortifications scattered around these mountainsides. No matter what nature purists might say, I say that they should stay that way. It's history, and it just adds to the whole experience. This journey has been about going from one border to another. It started near Slovenia, and now we are already flowing next to France.
L'Italia, la France. Le Jeep duo Jeep, le KTM, le Yamaha. Okay, goodbye Gardetta. You were quite epic.
Speaking of flowing, the gravel suddenly turns into a perfect downhill tarmac, an opportunity to switch off our engines, just flow down the mountain and feel like a vegan or something. And speaking of forts, soon enough we arrive at Colle di Tenda pass, which is also a border with France. And here lies a complex of 6 forts, the main one being Colle Alto, commonly called Forte Centrale. This is by far the most spectacular. Built in 1880 on the Italian side, it now sits on the French side. And to complete the picture, we meet some Germans in some very ancient motorized vehicles. This is what I call traveling in style. However, we also do our own bit of attracting attention. I guess there are not many Latvians on Latvian bikes coming through here.
Litauen, Lettland, Estland, Lettland oder Estland. Was ist LV? Lettland.
Transit is allowed no 8 līdz 8, jā. Experienced drivers only.
The last bits of TET meander in and out of France here, so we might as well look for some wine and baguettes. But no time for that. We have one last scenic thing to do here. Via del Sale, or the famous Salt Road. This spectacular former military road is 30 kilometers long and winds itself at about 2000 meters altitude. It connects the Piedmontese and French Alps to the Ligurian Sea. Similar to Col de Sommelier, It's a toll road, open on specific days and is being advertised by local municipality as an ultimate 4x4 and motorcycle travel destination. I know you might not like the toll bit, but I'd say better like this than this road being closed to motorists altogether. This year the winter was long in the Alps, which means that we are experiencing the spring here, despite the calendar saying July, which in turn means that the mountainsides are lush green with some violet flower thingies sprinkled in. A sight quite different to that later in the season.
Te no šitās skatu punkti ir šitā. Tā ir no malas. Ir labi.
After having ridden Gardetta on the same day, Via del Sale feels a bit like a step back. But don't listen to me. I'm just a spoiled brat that has been riding in the mountains for 2 weeks without a break and who needs to ride some boring flatlands to appreciate these views again. Because they are out of this world.
Atkal plinti patīs man. Jā, ir tīri baisīgi.
You know, motorcycle trips are not that different from a book, a play, a movie, or the life itself. And if I know anything about good script writing, it's the ending that counts. And we have the best ending we could ever wish for.
Kutēlāk.
Via del Sale, Salt Road. Probably we're transporting salt here, as the name suggests.
The road hugs the cliffs most of the way and is definitely not for the faint-hearted.
Wait. If you suffer from vertigo, don't ride this road. Priekšā aizslīdē. Īstā vieta, kur priekšā aizslīdē.
As it opens up, it reminds us a bit of Montenegro TET that we have done previously. Speaking of the order of things, while in the middle of the Gardetta road, I sat down to reflect of do's and don'ts and the impressions of the whole Italian TET in general. Have a listen while we continue to ride down this magnificent, salty road.
My number one suggestion would be, if you are starting out your motorcycling journey or your TET journey, you want to go to mountains in Europe, start with Italian TET. Don't do it like we did it. We started with Balkans, Spain, Morocco, stuff like that, and that gave us quite a high target of expectations. Alps are very beautiful. They're very nice, epic roads, both tarmac and gravel. The views are breathtaking. But if you have been to other places where it's maybe more freedom to roam, more adventurous tracks, more challenging, less people, then when you come to Alps you will find that to be a restriction. But if you're only starting out, this is the perfect place to be. It gets tiring quite a lot because there are so much curves. You won't believe it. At first, of course, we like curves, right? We're on motorcycles and it's fun for the first day or two. But for 2 weeks, going only on sidewalls, it gets, I wouldn't say boring, but it gets tiring. It's tiring mentally, tiring physically as well. You know, even if we haven't driven any off-road that day, we feel quite burned out at the end of the day. Mamma mia! And if I would do it again, I would maybe start as well in the east, do the Dolomites as well. Maybe not on the weekend, do it on a working day and not on a holiday when there's less traffic. Maybe do Stelvio or some of these big passes that every motorcyclist has to do anyway. Then maybe skip all this middle part where the lakes are, the Garda, the Como. Sure, there are some nice little stretches off-road, but it's a lot of kilometers, a lot of days, and you're better off skipping the middle part via the highway and then arrive in the western parts where we are here now and rode the off-road tracks, with the only caveat being that you have to very precisely check the opening times of the roads. Some roads are open like on Saturday and Wednesday, some are closed on Saturday or Wednesday. And then there are some roads that are closed on Thursdays. And then there are road works where you can go this supposedly open road only before 8:30 a.m. or only at lunch or in the evening, because during the day it's closed, and so on. For some roads you have to pay in cash, which we didn't have once. So if you plan carefully, you can have these beautiful experiences.
Come on now, Parkus, yeah, bro. Hey, visi grib tuvāk klintī.
Go late in the season, even if it means high season, because we are here in July, in 10th, 8th of July. Seems like middle of summer, but we got stuck in the snow on the slopes and we couldn't do some of the roads that we wanted and that were supposedly open. Don't go also on these roads on weekends, which is kind of counterproductive because some of the roads are especially open on Saturdays or Sundays. But then try to plan those in the middle of the week if they're open, because on weekends in summer there will be races, mountain bike races, car races, running races. So there's quite a big chance that you stumble upon carabinieres and they will just point you back down the mountain and then you'll have to go all the way around and miss all the beautiful views. Speaking of mountains, I've been twice to Nepal, and that gave me such a high ceiling for expectations of what mountains can be. And don't do that. Go first to the Alps and then go to Nepal, not the other way around. Guys.
So this is it. As we are descending the salt road, we are back in the fog and the circle of life is complete.
How to get around? Paldies. Viens, tā netaisnība.
We have now ridden the whole length of the Italian Alps. 2,500 kilometers through the mountains and another 1,000 connecting both ends. At the time of recording this, it felt like the big adventure of this year is over. What I didn't know is that just in a couple of months I'll be packing my things and heading to the blackest of the Black Africas to ride a Northern 901 from Ghana to Angola. But that's a story for the next series.
Man liekas, mocija interesantāk šo darīt.
And with that, the voice over me says goodbye to you, encourages you to subscribe, comment, become a member or Patreon of this channel. After all, there are some member-only videos in the plans. Just saying. And for the final goodbyes, passing the mic on to the riding me.
And with these epic views and jumps, we say goodbye to you. Thanks for following our more than 2,500 kilometer long adventure through Italian Alps. So yeah, see you in some other adventure, and arrivederci. And that's it. Then we're going back to Milan, where we ship our bikes home. And there's a marmot running towards me. Let's see if he notices me. Went into a cave. Oh, that's Alps, folks.
Ej, tu nost, vienkārši cik kosmos. Man liekas, man luktur ir balts. Tīgais.